Hello there, all you amazing people. I'm really pressed for time, so I'm sorry for the lighting. I need to figure that out one day. This is a video that you don't have to look at anything, just minimize it and listen to me. But I haven't done this at all on my channel, and I want people to kind of understand me a little bit, because I feel a lot of people misunderstand a lot of the shit that I'm saying. I'm not going to go into like everything fucking detail. I'm just going to talk about what I'm doing, the most important things about that has something to do with tech on this channel. So I started out with a good old Commodore 64, got an Amiga 500, got, the good old 486 computers, and I started to install Windows, repair Windows, malware, antivirus, build computers for people when I was about 12 years old. My mom's boyfriend at the time would at work or from his acquaintances get computers to me that needed fixing, and I would fix them. I knew about Linux already back then. I used to help a guy way older than me, but he was a tech guy. I helped him with Linux, and he also repaired and sold computers, and I was helping him fixing a lot of his stuff. Again, I was 12 and up. I think like the first time I really did it was 12 years old. I had at 12 years old, I had between 5 and 6 computers at my house all the time, because I didn't get paid for doing it. My payment was a meal. My payment was, we are upgrading our graphic card, you can keep the old one. Can you put these components from the old computer over to the new one, and you can keep the old computer. And then when someone needed a computer, I would just give it away, or I would sell it for really, really cheap money. Back then in the 90s, you couldn't go on to eBay and stuff like that and see how much was this worth, because the internet was that well flushed yet. And there were no real other computer guys I could ask in my town. That also meant I had to figure everything out myself. I couldn't go on the internet and say, you know what? This computer is doing these beeping noise. I don't know what they mean. I had to figure that one out myself. So when a motherboard was doing like beep, 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 I had to figure out that was a RAM issue. I didn't have a manual, didn't have the internet where I could go and look that up. So it was just unplugging components and see when it stopped fucking up. And when I took the RAM modules out, it stopped doing beep, 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 or the beep sequence for, RAM issues. I did that when I was 12. I started to teach myself HTML and stuff like that when I was about 16 years old. And I've been doing coding on my own and computing repair and stuff like that ever since I was 12 years old. I'm turning 41 in about a little over a month, by the way. I got into Linux, really hardcore into Linux in the late 90s, and BOS and operating systems and stuff like that. And like I said, when I was like in late 90s, the guy that I was helping out, I helped him build, set up, and he sold Linux computers to his friends and families and co-workers. In the late 90s, I was helping a guy that got a side hustle selling Linux computers. So I did a lot of troubleshooting with Linux back in the 90s, setting up, and I've done it through my whole life. I've helped people with Windows and sometimes with Mac OS, but mostly, of course, Windows. I have been promoting Linux to people that need new systems and stuff like that since 2000. I am probably on YouTube the guy that have been promoting Linux to real life people other than just yapping my mouth on the internet the longest. We are in 2024, that's 24 years. I have been advocating for Linux to other people publicly. I still do it to this day, if it makes sense. Beside that, I have had many manual labor jobs, done a lot of things working with robots, automatically feeding robots, not like AI and stuff like that, but robots that, electrical driven robots. It was sensor driven robots, basically. Feeding cows, and I've been working on cars and industrial machinery, building industrial machinery, repairing them, service them and stuff like that. And then I got sick. I got a massive depression. I didn't know what was wrong with me. I always felt there was something wrong with me, but I got a massive depression. And I was like, after a year, I was like, I need to get this fucking figured out. So I went to the doctor and they did a shit ton of tests. I'm like, you're just depressed. So here's some antidepressant. I was on antidepressant for 5 years and nothing happened. And after like 5 years, you start to be like, there's something, like I'm not joking here, I could not function for 5 years. I could barely fucking get out of the door to collect my mail. And I was like, after 5 years, like, something is wrong here. And yes, why didn't you realize that before? I kind of was like telling myself that they were working, but they really was not, because, you know, we are guys, we don't like to say it, you know, we don't want to admit that something is wrong. It's like, it will pass. I just need to take these pills and it will pass. And then, like, shit, 5 years has just passed like this. And I'm like, well, I'm still in the same situation. So I started to go to the doctor and demand more help and get help from other sources and stuff like that. And that took a lot of time. There's a lot of validation. You have to go through a lot of steps, and you have to talk to a lot of people. And they found out a lot of things. Like, I'm hyper alert, for example. Like, I'm hypersensitive to noise, sounds. Like, I'm always analyzing everything. So I always hear everything, I see everything for the most part, and stuff like that. That's why I have these headphones on. If I don't have headphones on, I get distracted because I hear so many things most people don't hear, because I'm hyper aware. I think that's the word that you use in English. I'm hyper aware about almost everything. So I use headsets. If I really need to concentrate at work, I use headsets to make sure that I can focus on this. And I don't have ADD or ADHD. I've been tested, by the way. But I'm hyper aware of my surroundings. When I go into a room, for example, I know the exits, I know where the toilets are, I know kind of where people are sitting, you know. I'm just hyper aware of, I know what people are doing for the most part. Unless I'm with a really beautiful girl, and then that fucks up, because then I'm hyper aware of her, by the way. So I got all of those things take some years, and then after all of these tests, and they found out that you're not ADHD, you're not ADD, so you're hyper aware. And the next step was, of course, talking to a psychiatrist. And I talked to the psychiatrist, and they're like, yep, you're on the autistic spectrum. Asperger's, as they're calling it, called it back then, but now you're just on the spectrum. Made a lot of sense. They weaned me off the antidepressant because I didn't need them. I was not depressed, I was not stimulated enough. That was the issue. I was bored. They also found out that like I said, I've done a lot of things in my life. I had a lot of different jobs. One of the reasons why I had a lot of different jobs is that if I don't get challenged physically or intellectually, I get bored and I tune out. I don't want to go to work, and I then quit the job. I had to then get some tools, learn how to deal with being hyper aware, and dealing with finding the right job opportunity so I don't get bored, because nobody wants to hire a guy or a person that after a year, 2 years, they are leaving because they get bored, you know. So I have to, like, find and learn tools and tricks how to deal with that, because no matter what job you get, you will get bored sometimes. So how do I deal with boredom if I don't get intellectually challenged, or I don't get physically challenged? I need to get my ass to the gym more, as you can see. I used to work out 6-7 days a week in my youth. I need to get back to that, by the way. Which lead me to these past few years where everything, you know, I got off the antidepressant, I got the skills, learned some new skills, how to deal with not being challenged physically, mentally, how to deal with being hyper aware, and train using them in different situations, have different so I would be attached to different teams around my local town, work teams to work in different areas with different people. So I worked like 3 years with people they wanted to jump into a lava pit in Minecraft. They have massive mental health issues and stuff like that. So I've been working with co-workers that have all of those issues to learn to deal with those things and deal with my own things, because sometimes it's really beneficial to be around people that don't have it easy, to be around people that also struggles in life, because they can help you. They understand you way more than some fucking idiot on the internet do. They understand you way more than anyone else do, because they are struggling like you are, and they also are more accepting for your own struggles. So I had a lot of great conversations and learned a lot from working with these kind of people, but it took me 3 years to learn that again and train these new skills that I have learned so I can do well in a normally society without being bored and being like fuck people. So I have to deal with, what do I do if I get bored? What do I do if I get depressed? What do I do if I get like an autistic episode? You know, all of those things. What do I do if in a place where all my senses are in alert level, nuclear attack level, you know, I'm hyper aware about everything and the fucking sun when I get those episodes. How do I handle those? And the only way you get good at handling them is training them, and that's what I did in those 3 years, working with other people that have a lot of mental health issues, which then led me to getting a job where I got, basically like lumberjacking. That was physically, draining. So I liked that. I was so physically tired that I couldn't get bored, which then led to getting, basically, I wanted like something else. I couldn't stay where I was, and I wanted to do something else. And I got attached to a headhunter. We can do that here in my town. So if you're unemployed, you can have the opportunity to go talk to a headhunter that have, my head is itchy, that have like connections to all kind of businesses in the town I live in. So he was basically a headhunter for other companies, or like the middleman. And we were bouncing back and forth and talking about this shit. And I was talking about this, like, I've always worked in IT at home. I've been helping people since I was a young teenager. I've been learning. At that point, when I got sick with depression, I taught myself Python. I learned Python. I learned a little bit of C# and another C# Java and stuff like that. And I refined a little bit of my HTML, CSS things while I was sick with depression. And he was like, and I have that, I have some courses in IT that I took here and there, and I have some business courses and business economy courses and stuff like this, like 4 weeks, 2 weeks courses, and nothing really major. And he was like, you do all of this tech shit. I showed him my YouTube channel. And he was like, I know a company that needs someone to do IT support and infrastructure. Let me go talk to them. And I was, of course, nervous because it's like I was going from being basically a manual labor guy to lumberjacking to now, oh shit, I have to sit inside in an office and do infrastructure and shit like that, and I have no paper on it. And we went talking to this dude, and he was like, well, let's give you a month to see what you can do. And a month went, and then Christmas came, and like, yeah, let's give you another month. And I tried that out, and it turned out that he could use me. Like, my skill level was good enough, and I could learn enough when needed, that then if we need IT support, infrastructure, blah 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 blah, put in whatever you want, anything from running cables to dealing with the NAS servers and user accounts and Azure and all that fucking shit. If there was something I didn't know, I would go home and learn so I knew it the next day, basically. I spent hours and hours after work sitting and watching tutorials, reading books and stuff like that to learn something I need to learn for the next day. So that was what I started out doing. And then they found out, you can do a little bit of bash scripting. So I did that. You can do a little bit of Python. I made a little tools here and there. And they found that out, so I started to do a little bit more, I will not call it development, Code Monkey stuff, Code Monkey shit. Because they have a developer there, and they were like, you can help him do mediocre things. So if someone needs, if he needs like a really basic, simple script or coding to be done, I could do that, and he could focus on the in-depth, difficult stuff. And then the boss had some ideas for some things, and then those ideas started to become meaning that I started to work a little bit more in OCR recognition, AI, machine learning for some projects that they have in their mind. And then I talked to the developer, and he does C#, and it's like, well, I do Python, you do C#, and he has to use some of the code I'm using. Why don't I learn C#? So I learned C#. So within like the first 6 months I worked there, I learned Arduino, which was another project we are doing. I learned Arduino programming, advanced Python, and C#. I'm not an expert in any of it, but I had to learn enough that I could now work with a seasoned C# developer. Of course, he taught me a lot of things and helps me out to this day, but still I had to learn enough that we could be partners instead of him being a teacher all the time. Again, he's still teaching me a lot of shit to this day and helping me out, but I'm also giving him some ideas and stuff like that. And now we just did a 10-week project with 3 developers that had to do their thesis for their education, centered around the OCR tool that I made with machine learning /AI, that they then, just because they know more than I do, they did it better, they optimized it, they did proper multi-threading and multitasking, and did like MVVM and all of those things where I was just starting to figure those out. We built a database up and stuff like that, and I kind of took more over like the role, just making sure that they were following what we really wanted, and bouncing ideas off them, dealing with meetings and stuff like that, and talking to people that need to work with the tool, setting up tests and stuff like that. Infrastructure shit. I'm still installing Windows. I'm still doing IT support. I'm still buying IT equipment. While I'm also doing this machine learning, AI, OCR on the side. And I'm building some tools on my own that I think would help out the company, but I do them on my own. So when I have a finished product, I can go and say, hey, maybe this can help us out. That's more computer diagnostic monitoring based. All of that is what I'm doing right now. And I help people with Mac problems, Windows, Linux. Yes, we use less servers running Linux, dude. You know, we want to have a server up and going at some point. It's either going to be a Docker container or whatever. I don't know what route we're going, but that's going to be either Ubuntu or a Debian server that's running either Docker containers or just being a server that's hosting server things. I'm a little bit like, I don't sit and just code. I don't sit and just do IT infrastructure. I don't sit and just install Windows. I do a little bit of everything that has to do with IT. Sometimes we even talk security backups and stuff like that and fiddle with that. Like, if you want to do what I'm doing right now, go to school for 3 or 4 years and that's it. You can do way more than I can do. I took the long way around. I did it on my own when I had time. That's not the fast way of doing it. I've been subject to a lot of unique experiences in life that most people don't get to experience from a really, really, really young age. I hope this makes sense. I hope this About Me video that's long as fuck, that I should have been made for like 3 or 4 years ago, was interesting and helped you out in some way. See you all later. Bye bye.